What's up everyone, Brady Fugel here, coming at you with an album review of the new Bring Me the Horizon record, Post-Human Next Gen. It was surprise released yesterday, Friday, May 25th, and it is their first full-length album since 2019's Amo. It is also the third installment and I believe final installment of their Post-Human anthology, I guess. And the thing about Bring Me the Horizon is they have gone through so many different evolutions throughout each of their albums throughout their careers that their fan base is so diverse and split and a bit disjointed. You have the deathcore MySpace crowd that still wants them to make their first album again. You have the scene kids that became fans of them from their second album all the way up into 2013's Sempiternal, which was really the peak of their, at least, metalcore days. And you have the more mainstream listeners that have become fans of the band through 2015's That's the Spirit, as well as their previous album, Amo, like I just mentioned. And while I definitely prefer their heavier material, I don't really have an issue with them going a bit more mainstream. It's gotten to the point where if I want to hear some heavy riffs or some deathcore breakdowns and screams, I'm not going to listen to Bring Me the Horizon unless it's their first record. And I'm not going to expect them to go back to that. I'm not going to want them to go back to that. They have obviously found a sound that works for them, and it is a sound that has made them such a mainstream and a well-known name. So much so that after That's the Spirit drops in 2015, so many other bands tried to hop on that bandwagon of incorporating these poppy elements into their metal sound. And sure, some good albums came from that, but nobody really captured it in the way that Bring Me the Horizon did with That's the Spirit. But unfortunately, when Amo dropped in 2019, that was kind of the drop-off point for me because I feel like, at least for my music taste, that was them leaning a bit too far into that mainstream abyss, I guess. It had a lot of electropop elements and just overall mainstream elements that were just a bit too basic and watered down and just instrumentally bland for me to get into. And now we have this album, their first full-length album in 5 years since that. And what we have here, at least for me, is an album that starts out very good and then travels down a steep downhill and gets worse and worse as the album progresses. And I've seen a lot of positive things about this record. Lots of people are saying very positive things about it. And I wish I could share your enthusiasm, but I can't. Because on the bulk of this album, you have lots and lots of, again, those mainstream arena rock, pop rock, electropop elements that just feel so uninspired and bland. And just to be clear, I have been giving this record a very, very fair chance. I've been listening to it nonstop since it dropped in preparation for this review. And once again, I have no problem with bands trying out more mainstream elements, but it has to be interesting, it has to be different, it has to be engaging. Songs like N.A. and Die For You and R.I.P. have absolutely none of that. These are mainstream pop songs, nothing more, nothing less, with maybe a touch of some metalcore elements displaced throughout it. So getting into specifics here, getting into the content of these songs and what I like and don't like, I'm going to start with the positives because there is a decent amount of positives on this record. The song Kool-Aid, loved it when it dropped, still love it now. It may be a bit hard to take seriously with the name of the song being Kool-Aid. I thought it was going to have writing credits given to Bert Kreischer or someone else that drinks 64 ounces of Kool-Aid to start their day, especially considering the serious nature of these lyrics, which will be a downfall of this record in the end, but we'll get to that later. Sticking to the positives, I love the overall vibe of this song. It has a very catchy and sinister, eerie sounding chorus, and it pushes those emo elements just the right amount. For example, I love the way he says, "Nobody loves you like I love you." It's just, the way he just groans it sounds great. There's a scream section in the second verse, which I think sounds great. I love Ollie Sykes' screamed vocals. I think he sounds great when he screams. I wish he did it more. There's a cool little breakdown in the bridge there, and there's also this little guitar solo that I thought was cool. And I can't help but have an affinity for that personally because, to me, to my ears, it sounds like kind of a modern rehashing of something that would have been on Count Your Blessings, specifically in the guitar tone and in the production. So I thought that was a nice little touch. It's really short, but I think it really adds to the song, and it makes the song very unique from the other songs on here, which aren't exactly very guitar focused. The only part I don't like is at the end when they do like those spoken word vocals, as in you press record and then talk to somebody like you don't know that you're being recorded. I don't know, that maybe that's not a bad thing for everybody, but I've always thought that was really corny. It's like they took a page out of the A Day to Remember Common Courtesy playbook where they did that on multiple songs. Top 10 Statues That Cried Blood, which is a weird name, and Dark Side both have some pop influence but are done in a way that's tasteful, and at least they fit the song and they don't make it sound like a blatant pop mainstream pander. And my favorite song on the record might be the very Deftones-esque Limousine. I love that distorted vocal effect that he has on in the chorus, and I just love that slow-paced sludge that this song has going the entire time. And I think the feature was very tasteful. I'm not familiar with Aurora or her music, but I think she sounds pretty damn good on this song. Dark Side, once again, is a pretty solid song. It's got a really good mid-tempo bounce going to it the whole time that drives the song forward. And Bullet With My Name On is okay. It's not great, it's not bad. It kind of just feels like it's not adding much to the album at this point. But I'm sorry to say that after this song, I have essentially nothing positive to say about this record. It has a couple random interludes spaced throughout, which, at least in my ears, kind of just feels like it's taking up space. If you saw my review of the new Imminence record, you know that was like my main criticism of that record, and I have to do it again here. It's just like, what's the point? This is already a long record. Why do you need these interlude tracks in here? But at least I can get through those. Some of the songs from this point on the record and on, I can't even get through. I really can't. NA is this modern emo attempt with this slightly grungy feeling. But God, this song has, between the corny sing-along chant vocals and the cringeworthy lyrics saying he wants to make love to a chainsaw, the extremely overly processed rhythm guitars in here. He sings about the voices in his head, this song is absolutely, there's nothing original about this song whatsoever. It is watered down emo. That is it. Lost and R.I.P. both have these sugary, computerized verses, with Ollie's vocals almost sounding auto-tuned at parts. R.I.P. specifically just feels so disjointed and stark in the way that it has those upbeat lyrics and vocals, but you have these random pounding double bass drums in that second verse. Amen, the song with 3 features on it, is the epitome of identity crisis. Because listen, I'm all for ambition and bands trying to diversify their content and having kind of multiple influences in the same song. But if you do that too much, you can't identify with it. There's too many conflicting moods going on. You don't know how to feel from the song. And that's exactly how I feel about this one. I mean, I will say I respect what they went for here, but between the extremely heavy screams and death growls to the straight rap, it's these stark transitions that feel very, very almost awkward. I know I skipped over the opening track, Utopia, as well, and I do like that one. It has a very open feeling in those verses, but speaking of the word awkward, I'm not a fan of that transition into the chorus. That chorus just sounds so weak instrumentally and production-wise compared to those very full-sounding verses. But overall, that is a song that I do enjoy. But going back, so we don't lose track of the track listing here, the album ends with the 2 worst songs on the record. I fucking cringe so hard at the R&B accent that Ollie tries to do in the song Die For You, which this pretty much is a straight-up R&B pop song with some extremely repetitive and boring, basic, and cringy lyrics. And the closing track, Dig It, which is over 7 minutes long. By the time you get through that, it is very, very difficult to replay this album again. That is another song that just doesn't know what it's supposed to be. It is having an identity crisis. And it's just, with its slow tempo, it's just very hard to stay engaged. So, before I give it a score, I would like to reiterate that these are solely my opinions and my music tastes that I'm taking into account. If you like this album, that's great. I wish I was you. But I'm not. This album gets a 10 out of 30 for me. As always, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to comment your thoughts on this record below. I would love to discuss it. And until next time, I will catch you guys later. Peace.